Hey y'all! Well, today we're going to talk about some recent music selections. I've had some viewers sending me some vinyl to listen to, which has been really fun. Plus, I've been doing some exploration on rock music that haven't really been listening to a lot of here recently. I've been listening to more jazz, but I'm trying to expand into the whole rock genre more. And maybe not like metal. I've never been a big fan of metal. And I haven't even like dove back into like the Led Zeppelin kind of stuff, which, hey, I may hear in the near future, but kind of drifting into that genre of music. And mainly because I found a good setup with a specific phono cartridge with my phono stage and a step-up transformer. We'll get into the hardware here in another video, but yeah, got something I think really sounds good with rock music too, or maybe it is tuned a little differently. I may still use like my 300B amp for listening to jazz and have another setup to listen to rock music, and I don't think that's unusual to have a system that maybe isn't perfect for every kind of music and that it's tuned to certain genres of music. But anyway, that's for another video. Let's talk about the music. One of the things was Steely Dan IMHO. Great album. Super classic rock and roll album from the era when I was growing up. And I did some research, and there was kind of a toss-up between these two versions. This is like the new pressing that is out now, and then this is the AB-1006 original that's supposed to be the best of all of the other pressings. And I wanted to compare the two, and we're going to be doing that with some other albums in here. Guys, both of them are good. I'm not going to say that one of them is like light years better than the other. They are a little different. It's hard to describe really the difference. I think your system tuning might make one of them sound better than the other. So it's probably worth getting both if you really like this album. And to me, this is just kind of almost a must-have. If you've never heard this, at least stream this and take a listen to it. This is some really fun music. So that's our number one. The second one I've talked about before is Santana Abraxis. And here's one I recently got from one of the viewers. And this is one of the early pressings that has the KC30130 on it. And this one has a pretty nasty scratch on the first two songs on one side, but it sounds so much better than this other pressing that I have, which must be a later one. And this one has like PAL 30130 in the dead wax. So that may be something to look for. I want to try to find a super clean one of these because this is one of my favorite albums. And this one sounds so much better than this one. They both have the red Columbia label. This one is CS9781 on the label. And it's got some different stuff in the dead wax. And you can see that the cover's a lot more muted than the other one is, as far as the coloring. And yeah, it just sounds flat and dead. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do in this video is like, if you've got this, you do not want to like tune your system to sound good with a bad pressing or a dead sounding pressing, and try to liven everything up and make everything bright and everything to make up for a bad pressing. You need to go find a good one. And I actually tried a new pressing of this, and it sounds bad just like this one does. So I think they're using this same mix on the new ones, the new released ones. This first OG one is the one that sounds right. And so, yeah, I got to hunt one of these down. And it's probably not going to be cheap, but that's part of the whole thing with vinyl and higher end audio gear is, yeah, I may not have $50,000 speaker cables, but I'm going to get the right pressing of the vinyl, and that's going to make more difference than any of that other snake wool nonsense is going to do, or feet on your preamp, or fuses, or any other kind of crazy mess. Here's another one I just picked up. Herbie Hancock, Speak Like a Child. This is available on Amazon. I believe it's on Amazon. This is made in Germany. Anyway, if it is on Amazon, I'll put the link below. Super fun album. It was just released, I believe, because I think this is one that I was on a waiting list for. And this is one of those Blue Note ones. Man, those Blue Note vinyls, you're not going to get a bad one. So far, I've bought dozens of these Blue Note vinyl off of Amazon, and all of them have been mastered, EQ'd, everything to perfection, and there's no surface noise or anything, just super nice sounding vinyl. So here's the next one, and I really gave this one a try. I tried to say, okay, this is a little different. Maybe this is, maybe it'll grow on me. It was Frank Sinatra at the Sands. I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. And I'm sure some of you folks are fans of him. He does have a great voice, but it was just too, I guess, Las Vegas-y kind of sound. And I didn't really like how much crowd noise was in the room. It's like they had the mic set up where they were picking up everything. And there's some live albums that I've heard where you can hear some drink glasses clinking and stuff that isn't too disturbing, but there's just something about the ambiance of this and the way it was recorded too that I'm just not crazy about. So sorry, I know one of the viewers sent this to me probably thinking, hey, here's something different to try listening to. And yeah, I couldn't get into it. The other one that surprised me, Boz Scaggs. I don't know, I just always kind of associated that with, cheesy kind of 80s kind of, smooth jazz stuff or whatever. This is a really good album. And I think it's called Digs. It's got a Payday, Sarah, Miss Riddle, Just Go There, Desire, Call That Love, King of El Paso, You're Not, Vanishing Point, Thanks to You. God, it's just a mix of all kinds of cool sounds. I mean, there's not some kind of cohesiveness where it's not like Kenny G where every song sounds very similar. I mean, he's just kind of all over the place with the different styles that is tossed into this, and it's just really good. So this one shocked me. I wasn't expecting to like this, and yeah, I've listened to this thing multiple times all the way through both albums, and it's just some fun music. So pick that one up. Here's the one that just really shocked me, and I can't even remember what the guy's name is. Bruce Cockburn, Stealing Fire. And when I looked at the cover of it, man, I thought this was going to be some kind of metal or something, and I would have never picked this up off the rack just from the cover. It just looks like, the cover doesn't look anything like the music sounds. This is just great jazz. I mean, this guy, jazzy kind of music, it's hard to describe. You can stream it. I'm sure there's YouTube videos with it. This is really, really, really good. I've listened to this at least a half a dozen times, both sides, all the way through. Just lay down and put this time aside to listen to it. And this is growing on me as one of my favorites right now. So pick up a copy of this, or at least go stream it and see if you like it. Again, I feel like that the streaming is lacking something that the vinyl gives me. And yeah, I don't want to get into that in this video because people are going to say, oh, the digital is so much better than the vinyl. What are you talking about? Anyway, you can at least stream it and see if it's the kind of music that you think you would like. So next is Keep Your Courage by Natalie Merchant. I don't know if you've ever listened to her music. She was on 10,000 Maniacs, and then she did a bunch of solo albums. Man, God, her voice is just, she's one of those, once in a lifetime artists that was just born with, an angelic voice. And this one does not disappoint. I bought this straight off her website because I figured, hey, she's the artist. I buy it off her website. She'll probably get more of the cut. This, like I said, if you've ever heard her music, this is, I'm not going to say more the same. This is a little different. It's got more orchestral kind of a background thing than the rock and roll theme stuff that she kind of did in the past. It's maybe not quite as lively as some of her singles that she did, solo stuff that she'd done after 10,000 Maniacs. But her voice just, yeah. And I'm not going to say every song on this is great either. So, but there's a whole slew of songs on here. There's like 3 songs or 4 songs on each side of the album. There's 2 albums. So this is a great one to pick up too. Okay, the next one is something that's near and dear to me because this album was actually recorded in Doraville. It was actually recorded about a half a mile from my house. Pronounced Leonard Skinner. Recorded at Studio One here in Doraville. And this was their first album. And I've listened to several of their albums. I love their music. I listened to it, when I was a little kid. And I didn't know that they were, recording here near where because I grew up probably 20 miles from here. And so I've always lived in this area. And this was like the birth of Southern rock was in this studio. And this mix sounds so much better than any of the other albums they cut after this, to me, that they paid tons more money on to have recorded elsewhere. And this was like their first album done on the cheap, supposedly. And I don't know what the deal was, the falling out with, the producers and stuff at Studio One and this band, or if they just got, MCA talked them into going to some other studio. I think they went to Muscle Shoals or something. And it's like Second Helping just doesn't sound good at all. But anyway, so I did some research, and one of the things you could do is go best pressing, song name, Google, and the Hoffman Forum has a ton of these threads where people go through. And I mean, some of them they get into like, well, you want this dead wax, not this dead wax. And even though the numbers are the same, that they're different things, or you want to get the UK one, or, whatever. There's a ton of that kind of stuff. And people were saying, oh, this new 45 RPM release is the bomb. You want to get that. But then I saw probably half a dozen people said to get the, let me see, it's this one here, to get the Songs of the South yellow label from MCA. And they said this is the best pressing, that it's got the most real sound. So, bought this, and then I also ponied up and bought the 2-disc 45s that were remastered by Steve. Who's this? Who did this? It was produced by Al Cooper, but I think Steve Wilson did the remix on it. Let's see if it says it inside it. Nah, it doesn't. Anyway, if it wasn't Steve Wilson, I'll put the name up here in the window. But I believe this was a Steve Wilson remix. And yeah, the people on the threads were saying, oh, this is the bomb. You want to get this version. So I looked online, and these Song of the South old copies are selling for stupid money. And I found a pair of the second helping, and which I'm not that crazy about. It's okay. It's got Needle in the Spoon and the Ballad of Curtis Lowe, and there's a couple of good songs, but pronounced every song's a hit. So anyway, I found one on eBay, and the guy had an auction for both of these for $80. But they were just graded very good, which that's kind of a mixed bag. And these do have a good bit of surface noise, which you would expect for very good. I mean, they're not even excellent or very good plus. And they don't have any big scratches on them, and they're not skipping or doing anything weird. And visibly, they look pretty nice. And these might clean up with some ultrasonic cleaning or one of those vacuum cleaners. I'm going to try that cleaning on it. But anyway, this absolutely destroys these new 45s, which is really disappointing because these 45s are super clean and they should have a lot higher resolution because they're, 2 LPs spinning at 45 instead of 33. But they mixed it with too much bass. They brought Ronnie Van Zant's voice too forward, and then they killed the drum track. And like the cymbals, somebody put like some kind of a high pass filter or low pass, whatever, put a filter on it where it just killed the cymbal crashes. And that's what this music's supposed to have. It's like taking the cowbell out of music from this period. I mean, those cymbal crashes, just bam, bam, bam. That's what the artist wanted. And see, to me, that is when somebody that's coming in and remixing something, they're not clarifying something. It's like, well, I don't like those cymbal crashes, so I'm just going to mute them. And that's changing the music. And when folks are remixing stuff, they shouldn't be doing that. They should be trying to keep the balance between, the different instruments, or if it's muddy, like in photography, you'd call it adding contrast, but you make it snappier if it's kind of muddy sounding, but don't go the other way. And so I have to say, don't waste your money on that. I'm not going to return it because there's nothing, quote, wrong with it. It's just not a good mix. And yeah, that's kind of part of this whole deal too. So anyway, and then on the second helping of the Songs of the South, it's just kind of flat and a little too bass heavy, which I think is just the mix. And pretty universally, people say that this just wasn't recorded very well, which was not in Dorville. The Dorville one kicks butt. So anyway, they just had the 50th anniversary of that album with Freebird recorded half a mile from my house. And that's freaking awesome. And we're fixing to put up a big plaque in the downtown park talking about the recording studio here. So that's really cool. That's one of the bonuses for being on the city council, is I can make stuff like that happen. So anyway, this is the album cover for Second Helping. It's okay. This one's really cool. You can see how ready this is. And you can see how redneck the back of it is with a pack of cigarettes with Leonard Skinner on it. It's like, yeah, that's the 70s. So finally, this is an album that I've always loved. And I've really struggled with trying to get a good sounding version of it. And it's Yes, Fragile. And I went and bought a couple of different pressings from over the years, some old ones, and they just sounded kind of muddy. They don't sound like I remembered. I don't know if they were just worn out or somebody had used like a really crappy needle with the tracking set super heavy and just killed the grooves, or whatever. But this was a new 180 gram pressing. It's got the little, you know, the little, I don't know if you call this the gatefold or whatever. It's got the little cool little thing on the inside. It's got all the pictures, the artwork. The artwork on the front's really nice. I mean, I just think it's a cool looking album too, but this one sounds awesome. And when I first listened to it, I listened to it with my moving magnet cartridge, which does have a microline stylus, but it was okay. I mean, I knew it was good. There was something there, but once I put that OC9 XML moving coil cartridge with a step-up transformer and then my EAR 834 clone, and then put it with this EL34 amp with the gold pin 5751, because that gives it a little more like boost kind of to the sound, or gives it a little more kick than the standard pin one. And then my Klipsch speakers, wow, it sounded good. I mean, just, man, all the notes, just like the start of Roundabout was just glorious. I mean, it's just that bong, ding, that, God, it just sounded so good. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. And so I'll put a link where to get this. If you're a Yes Fragile fan, you can go buy this without having to go hunt through old pressings and stuff. And it sounds amazing. And so there we go. That's kind of my latest dive into vinyl and playing around with stuff. The other thing that we're going to be going over soon, I'm still waiting on another pair of transformers to try, but I had one moving coil step-up transformer that used Cinemags. Then I got another one that just this week. I actually got it yesterday afternoon, and it's got 9-pin tube sockets that'll take about 3 different types of step-up transformers. Basically, there were microphone transformers that can be used for step-up transformers. And I'm learning, at least for my setup, 1 to 14 step-up seems to be like the spot. Because I've tried 1 to 9, 1 to 18. Neither one of those, I feel like I was just kind of, it was the 3 little bears, and we got the middle bear now, the 1 to 14 with this RCA. They're like 3 times the size of those little Cinemags that were in the other step-up transformer. And man, they sound good. It really cleaned up the bass. And so we're going to be doing more about turntable tuning. Also picked up a Denon, I think a 301 Mark II. Yeah, that's what it is. And trying to decide if I want to use the stock alignment or if I want to use the Bear alignment. And the vinyl engine has a protractor for setting it up with the Bear alignment, and you have to, or the Bear walled alignment, you have to like move the cartridge further out of the head shell, and then you end up twisting it just a little bit to get it to line up with the grids. And it does seem to help the bass response, but that Denon cartridge seems to be a little more bass heavy than the AT cartridge, so it might work better with just the factory Techniques alignment. And so I've got to play around with that. So anyway, we're going to report back on that stuff soon. And if you haven't seen it, got a great video about these new Horizon PS Vane tubes that really work awesome. So check that out. Thanks again for watching my video. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe. Please like the video. That helps a lot too. Also, thanks to you Patreon supporters and you other folks that are just subscribers, viewers of the channel, people that have made contributions. Thanks to you guys that send me vinyl. And you can go to my website. There's a contact page. Email me, and I'll give you my address if you want to send me some stuff to listen to, and we'll feature it on the channel. So until the next video, have a nice day.